Laura is a girl raised in a rich family. Her father, Richard, owns several big companies. She had a happy childhood, but everything changed when her mother died. Her grieving father began exploring the world, trying to find ways to bring her mother back to life. On an expedition to Japan, Richard disappeared. Japanese police searched for 2 years but were still unable to find his whereabouts. Laura refused to accept her father's death. She chose to run away from home and hustle to make ends meet. She became a delivery girl, and her favorite sport in her spare time is boxing. One day, Laura took part in a bicycle race to win $600, but an accident happened. She collided with a police car and was taken to the police station. Anna, one of her father's assistants, after hearing the news, rushes to the police station. She advised Laura to go and inherit her father's assets, something she has been rejecting for years after her father's disappearance. She warned her that if she didn't, all of her father's estate, including her beautiful childhood mansion, would be auctioned off. In order not to ruin her father's efforts, Laura finally agrees and meets with the lawyer. All she had to do was sign the death warrant for her father, and she would be able to inherit hundreds of millions of dollars. While in the process, the lawyer pulled out a decryption box, saying it was left by her father. Laura immediately put down her pen and tried to solve the puzzle on it. Surprisingly, she is able to solve it, and it opens. She retrieves a key and a note from it. The note contained a message which directed her to go to the family's tomb. She went to the mausoleum on the family estate. After pressing the initials on her father's mausoleum, a keyhole appeared. Laura used the key she brought, inserted it, and a secret door appeared next to it. She enters and finds a room full of her father's research. She found a video camera and watched the tape. The video contains a message from Richard, detailing his search for Himiko's tomb and the history of her legend. He requested that Laura destroy all of his research because a company called Trinity is after his work and may threaten the world if they find Himiko's tomb. Instead of destroying his father's work as instructed, Laura looked at it carefully and learned that her father had found the island where Himiko was buried. Laura goes to a pawn shop to get money for an amulet that belonged to Richard. She only gets 10,000 pounds at first, and when she tries to get more, the greedy shop owner, Max, knocks it down to 8,000. Laura then knocks coffee on his balls for being a jerk. Without delay, Laura travels to Hong Kong to find a ship captain named Lu Ren. She arrives at the docks and has her bag stolen by 3 street punks. Laura catches up to them and manages to get her bag back, but one of the goons tries to take it back with a knife. Laura manages to run to by Lu Ren's boat and shout for help. He comes out with a rifle and scare the guys away. He is also drunk, so passed out and falls from the floor. Laura wakes him up and learns that her father went off with Lu Ren's father and they both disappeared. Knowing that he still had a broken boat, Laura offered to pay him all the money she made from the sales of her amulet and asked Lu Ren to take her to Yamatai to find out what has happened to them. Although he knew it was dangerous, Lu Ren was very short of money, and he also wanted to look for his father, so this young man agreed. They set sail immediately. In the meantime, Laura continued to study her father's notes and learned that a group called the Holy Trinity was also looking for Himiko's grave. They seemed to want to use Himiko as a weapon. Soon the two arrived near Yamatai Island, but there was a strong wind on the sea and the boat was also out of control. It bumped into a rock and began to sink. Knowing the ship won't survive, Laura and Lu hop off and try to get on a lifeboat, but Laura ends up being washed away to the island. She sees a group of mysterious people on the island, but before she could react, a guy knocked Laura out. Laura wakes up to meet a man named Matthias Vogel. He has been leading an expedition for Trinity to find Himiko's tomb, but hasn't been able to return home to his family until he has concluded his search and brought back what they want. Laura looked for her father's notebook, but unfortunately, Vogel had gotten it already. It contained the location of the grave. During the conversation, Laura also learned that her father was killed by Vogel. Laura walked out of the room and found a group of mercenaries all over the place. They were enslaving laborers and digging graves. Laura is forced to join the workers and saw Lu Ren, who was already working with the rest. Since Vogel knew the location of the grave, he led the group to a treacherous mountain peak to work. During this period, a laborer fell on the ground due to exhaustion. Vogel took out his gun and killed him. He then points the gun to Laura but decides not to shoot her. Lu Ren, who has had enough of this torture, attacked a mercenary, which gives Laura a chance to run away. Lu Ren tries to escape too, but he doesn't get far before Vogel shoots him in the shoulder. Laura was lucky enough to escape to a cliff. She tried to run across to the other side via a tree trunk, but she lost her footing while dodging a bullet. Lara unfortunately fell into the swift river. At the end of the river is a cliff. If she fell, she was likely to die. Fortunately, at the last moment, Lara grabbed the wing of an abandoned plane and then threw the wing, climbing to the inside of the plane. But then the plane lost its balance and fell, hanging in midair. Lara hurriedly grabbed the parachute and finally fell into the woods. This escape from death caused her stomach to be pierced by a tree branch. Lara withstood the pain and pulled out the branch. At night, Vogel sends one of his mercenaries to find Lara. He finds Lara and a fight ensues. Lara, who has learned how to fight, is able to subdue the mercenary and hold him down in a mud puddle, drowning the guy. She then sees a mysterious figure in the woods and follows him to his hideout after climbing the cliff cave. She walks in and to her surprise, it is her father Richard who is still alive. Although he believes Lara to be a hallucination at first, he knows it's her and they tearfully reunite. Richard patches up her wound. By the next day, her father told Lara why he was not coming home. Because he was the only one who knew the location of Himiko's grave. In order to keep the bad guys from knowing, he faked his death and hid there. Richard becomes very angry with Lara for not burning the data, and also his notebook has fallen into the hands of Vogel. Lara proposes to escape from the island because Vogel has a satellite phone. She could just grab it and call for help. But her father disagreed because Vogel had a large number of troops. In a fit of rage, Lara grabbed a bow and arrow and ran to Vogel's base. Meanwhile, Vogel has dug up the grave, but there is a coded door in front of the tomb, which he cannot open. Lara takes the opportunity to attack the guards and let Luren leave with the refugees. Lara takes the opportunity to get the satellite phone, but as she is leaving, her father appears in front of the coded door. Vogel then goes over to him and forces him to open the door. The father does not agree, and Vogel orders his men to kill him. In the moment of crisis, Lara kills the mercenary, and the two sides confront each other. Lara points an arrow at Vogel, while Vogel points his gun at her father. In order to save her father, she gives in and agrees to help Vogel open the door. Since she is the only one who can solve the puzzle, she is forced to do it. After a few spins of the dial, the door finally opened, and the broken stone fell into a deep pit. The crowd also immediately dived down with a rope. Not far away, a mercenary was speared to death. Then the crowd went to a cliff that had a lot of bones lying on it. They then climb over with a ladder. They reach another puzzle that Lara has to solve before they all fall to their deaths. Just as the floor is about to completely fall, she is able to solve it. They finally found Himiko's cemetery. It is a high building. According to legend, Himiko was the first queen of Japan. She held power over life and death, and one touch from her was enough to kill anyone. Her generals overthrew her and buried her body on the island of Yamatai to prevent her evil from spreading. After passing through the accompanying maids, they come across Himiko's coffin. Vogel did not hesitate and let his men open the coffin. Due to the good embalming technology, Himiko's body was intact. Moments later, the body starts to decay rapidly and turns into a pile of bones. Vogel immediately lets his men take the body, while Lara finds something wrong because the mural on the wall shows that Himiko came here voluntarily. She seems to be sacrificing herself to protect the world. Just as the mercenaries were moving the body, Himiko suddenly sat up, but she didn't come back to life. One of the mercenaries who accompanied Vogel to the tomb's hand began to rot. Lara then understood that the so-called witchcraft is actually an infectious disease. Himiko is the carrier of the virus. People who touch her will mutate and lose their minds. Soon, the infected mercenary attacked others with his gun, so Vogel had to shoot him dead. Vogel understood that, in fact, this kind of virus is what the Holy Trinity group wants. He cuts off Himiko's finger and places it in a bag so that he can bring it back. Father and daughter also launched an attack. The father shot Vogel's leg, and the mercenary went after Lara. A mutant soldier began to attack Lara's father. Vogel takes the opportunity to escape. Although her father killed the soldier, he also touched the man's head and got infected with the virus. Father hurriedly took off his belt and tied his arms to delay the speed of mutation. Lara deliberately activated the mechanism during her escape. With her dexterous body, she escaped the attack, but the mercenary was directly run over by the wheel. When Lara found her father, he ordered her to stop Vogel. He chose to stay there and blow up the tomb. Although Lara was reluctant, there was no other way. She said goodbye to her father in grief. At that moment, Vogel arrived near the iron ladder. Lara leaped and drove him back, and the two fought. As a precaution, Lara knocked the ladder off the cliff. Vogel was angry and grabbed a weapon to kill Lara. At that moment, Lara's father set off the bomb. While Vogel was distracted, Lara knocked him down directly. She then shoved Himiko's finger into Vogel's mouth. Before Vogel could mutate, Lara kicked him off the cliff. At this time, the cave began to collapse, and Lara quickly jumped across the cliff and climbed up with the help of the weapon in hand. After a burst of escape, Lara managed to grab the safety rope. Meanwhile, Lu Ren and other laborers were digging up outside. They eventually found Lara. They then see a Trinity chopper descend, and they force the men to take them and the workers home from Yamatai Island. Back in England, Lara successfully inherited the company and gave it to Anna to manage fully. However, when looking at the assets, Lara discovers the name of the mercenary company. It turns out that they are a subsidiary of her father's company. Apparently, the Holy Trinity group has already lurked inside her father's company. Feeling bad about the situation, Lara rushed back to the family mausoleum and, in the Holy Trinity organization's materials compiled by his father, found a picture of a woman. Although only the back, she can see that this person is Anna. She realizes that Anna is the head of this company and was directly involved with Vogel the whole time. Lara decides to continue her father's work and bring down the bad guys. The last scene sees Lara returning to the pawn shop where she purchases 2 twin pistols.